Hello, thanks for having me here. Welcome, welcome to my lecture about refactoring legacy code. I would like to say a few words in Russian. Привет, ребята. Я француз, но я работаю в Швейцарии. Я очень рад быть в России и в Москве. Это один раз, первый раз. And now I will stop. This is our own superhero, as you can see. He has a little chapka, and our national symbol is not eagle, it's petuch. How cool is that? Now to simpler stuff. I'm Java programmist и architector. And basically I've been doing consulting work for like 15 years. So I've seen a wide range of customers, and also I've been tasked to maintain the code of very, very different code bases. That's why I thought that might be interesting to talk to you about this kind of stuff. Who is already working? I know you are students, but I know that many students are already working, so yeah, most of you are already working. Great. Basically, there is something that can be said about code, is that even Microsoft, which are perhaps not seen as the best coders ever, but yeah, this is a Java conference, so I can bash them. Even if you intend to write only the code once, probably at some point it will need to be read afterwards. And if it's not by someone else, it will be by you. I understand that when you are doing your study, probably it's one shot, you do your homework, and when it's done, you never read it again, you never change it again, you never maintain it again. In real world, however, it's not the case. And basically, if nobody cares about code, this is what becomes of the code. It can start like that, or it can become like that. The problem is sometimes it starts like that, so it's even worse. This is known as spaghetti code, basically. And when you need to, because most of the time the specifications are completely out of date, are not synchronized with what the code does, you have to read the code to understand what it does. And you have to read this kind of stuff, and this is not pleasant. So, on Wikipedia, you see that refactoring is a process of restructuring existing computer code without changing its behavior. That means you should keep the outer layer to do exactly the same thing and change inside. So, even if you don't need to do anything on the code, there is one simple rule. It's called the Boy Scout rule. It could be also said that it's a good boy rule, that if you happen to stumble upon something, you should probably leave it at least as clean as it was before. At least as clean, but it's better if it's cleaner. And now you can say, but hey guys, we are doing object-oriented programming since ages, and isn't object-oriented programming supposed to help us in that? Probably, but I'm afraid that I've rarely seen real object-oriented programming. Because most of the time what I see, it's procedural code, which is written in Java, and which doesn't contain any object-oriented pattern at all. Some people already noted that. And basically, there is a good book by Jeff Bay that talks about object calisthenics. Calisthenics is a hard word, even in French, it doesn't exist. It means gymnastics. But for code, for real programmer. And it states 9 simple rules of object-oriented calisthenics. So the first is you use only one level of indentation. That means also that as a side effect, probably you have a very low complexity regarding sonar stuff. You don't use else, because if you start using if else, it probably means that you are not using object-oriented paradigm. You shouldn't use primitives or strings. You should wrap them to have a real domain. You use only one dot per line. That is very easy to forget, like dot get, dot something, dot, and the end. If you have a bug on the line, it's very hard to debug. So it's not a problem to create intermediate variables. It shouldn't be. Yes, it consumes a little more memory, but most of the time, you don't care about memory so much. When you name your variable, you don't use abbreviations. You get the real name, right? And remember that naming is very hard in object-oriented programming. Also, don't create God classes. Keep your entities very small, and so on and so forth. And you have those 9 rules. The very interesting thing about that is that you can start from the 9 rules and have object-oriented code, or it can be like the effect of your refactoring. So what I propose to do now is, because I've talked a lot, let's have a little demo, right? And this demo was showed to me by these 2 guys, Rémi Salonville and Johan Martinson. And so it's nice to credit them, and they did a very good job. So basically, the domain is the following. You've got an item class. And basically, the domain is who knows about role-playing games? Come on, guys. Are there no geeks in the room? Okay, who knows about MMORPGs? Okay, I'm too old for this kind of stuff. When I was younger, it was all about role-playing games, not online role-playing games. Anyway, now let's suppose there is an MMORPG, and you've got items that you want to sell, right? And an item has a value and an expiry date. So as time passes, the value decreases, right? And you sell them at the end of the Gilded Rose. Now, you as a programmer, you are tasked to change the behavior, the existing behavior. But guess what? You have no specification. Happens all the time. Like, change that. Yeah, but how? What the gap? Oh, I don't know. It has to do that. Okay. So you have to check the code. So basically, this is the item class. And this is the stuff that changes the quality of the item regarding the number of days that passed, regarding the expiry date. And you are tasked to change this stuff. It's very, very hard. Very, very hard. So, most of the time, before changing this code, you need to change it before. It's not because you are a nice guy, you are a Boy Scout, it's because you just need it. So let's try to do something. And I want you to participate, of course. But because I'm quite lazy, but still I won't show you that what I can do. What I will do is very simple. I will use my IDE to do some stupid, simple stuff for me. Like that here, I will replace the 4 with a for each, because I don't need the index. So again, I replace the 4 with, I replace the 4, with for each. And there is something else here that can be done very easily and is spotted by my IDE, which is item.getQuality, and item.quality probably is 0. Simple. And now I would like to welcome you to participate. Who has any clue how I can improve this code? Remove? Yes. remove else. So that's something sure that I said. If it's else, it's bad. And in that case, I cannot just remove else. What I will do first is notice there are a lot of nots. So it just complicates the stuff.
You can reverse it.
Yeah, I will reverse it. That's a very good idea. So I will reverse it. And here, I will just say, invert if condition. And I just use it. Now I've made something, but how can I be sure that I didn't change anything? Tests. Great. So before changing anything, I should run the tests. And they work. Now, when you do refactoring, you should every time test. And in order to do that, I have installed a plugin which is called Infinitest, and which happens to exist both in IntelliJ and Eclipse. So every time I change something, I will run those tests. Oh, not I will run those tests, but those tests should automatically run. And here we can see that there is also a not and a else. So I will invert the if condition. And is there anything else? No. At this point, there isn't anything else. Okay, other suggestions? I compiled the test run. Look, here we can see that you have an item.setQuality of item.getQuality plus 1. That is wrong, because you are not using object here. You are just basically using it as a simple stupid structure. So it probably is wrong. So first, what I will do is I will extract this method. And I will say it increase quality by 1. Works for you? And I replace it everywhere. I compile, test should run, they should still be green. Great. You can see it here in the lower stuff. Now we can see there is something interesting too, that because every time I increase the quality, there is a check to see if the quality is not already above 50 or 50. And this is called temporal coupling, that if you need to always call a method before another method, there is something wrong. Probably you shouldn't expose it like that. They should always be called together. So what I can do is probably to remove this block and to put it in the method. So if I do that, probably that shouldn't change my code, right?
But maybe we should make another method where we can check if our quality is less than 50, and then we should use increase quality by 1.
That's a possibility. So we can create another method to check, and then a method to increase. The problem with that, it will still have temporal coupling.
Because if we need another function to, okay, because
Твой английский, у тебя проблема с английским? No. So listen, I listen.
Okay, because if we want to use not just increase quality by 1, but we want to increase our quality by 2, or maybe use another methods, so that we should remove our check from this one.
Okay.
I have additional some, and we have a hidden property in our method that called increase quality by 1. And we didn't know that it also checks the amount.
So one stuff is what happens if you want to increase the quality by 2. And the problem is, so far, I don't care. Do I need to increase the quality by 2, by 3, by any? And no. I'm just trying here to refactor. So you cannot design prematurely. Otherwise, you will run into a lot of troubles. Because if you design in advance for something that might happen or might never happen, then you will have too much code that is not used. So in that case, I will just put that here and remove it there and there and there. And probably I cannot remove it here yet. Okay? I compile, tests should run. They are still green. I'm happy. No, really, I'm happy. This is my happy face. Now, what I can do is, basically here, you see that I pass item as a parameter. And here there is item and item and item. At this point, probably, this should belong to the item class. Okay? So I will go here, and I will refactor and extract. Extract pool member inline. No, I don't want to inline. I want to move. Sorry, it's move. So when I select move, it automatically select item. And if I refactor it, now we can see that item has gained a new method, which is good. Okay, so here we can also see that we've got item.getQuality -1 and a setter as well. And here, probably I would like to have the same stuff. Like I would like to have one method to use the same trick. Unfortunately, there is an if there. But I can change the order. It won't change anything. Do you agree? That's great, because my tests also agree for me. So I can do the same here. And I've isolated another method. And decrease quality by 1. And yes, I want to replace every snippet. Here, I run my test again. They work. I want to extract in item class. It works. Much better. Much better. Now, we start saying a pattern. Now, here, we see that there is an else and a nested if. Probably it shouldn't change too much if I use not a nested if. Agreed? So, good. Also my tests agree. So we all agree, and it's good. And here, probably it should be the same or not. Not. Yes, and here I told you I forgot one inverted if. So here I also want to invert if. And we see that it might be better. See, what we are doing here is basically we are checking if the item is of a certain type every time, if it's equals HBRI or backstage passes or. Here, we've got one little problem. It's because here we first check if the selling is -0. So I will do something very strange. I will add more code. We can replace, sorry?
We can replace if item is less than 0 and move it before if. If item get name equals.
Again, please.
We can move 33rd.
53rd, okay, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This before if item get name equals to.
So I should move this line where?
Before this if.
This one?
No.
No.
All the big if, because we check this condition, I don't know, in if and in else.
Okay, that was the case before. That was that.
Oh, sorry.
So you want me to change it back?
Yes, I think that it's...
Yeah, in that case, what I did was strange because I added more lines of code. And of course, that's strange. But here we can look that there is a pattern, like if item name equals something, else if item name not equals something, item name, always item name. Now, if I could just put the item, the verification of the item name in some if, I could probably have some factoring there. So that's why I did that. And it doesn't change anything. Here we can else if, I can remove it again. Still okay? Or I can, again, do that. Missing one, probably, or having one too much. So, still running. That is good. Here, we see that there is one if that is not working.
Sorry, can I interrupt you?
Sure.
I would replace all equals sentence with switch catch.
That's possible, sure. Okay, let's do that. That was not planned, but let's do that. Then first, what I will do is, before doing that, still okay, great. And I will just remove the nested if. Okay. So, in this block, you want to use a switch instead of a if, right? Who agrees with that? Okay, let's do that then. So, I will switch item.getName, and that's good because then we can now with Java 7, I think, case on strings, yeah. So I will do it because you proposed it to me, and perhaps it makes things more readable to you. However, in the end, normally it shouldn't change anything. The problem with switch cases, they are more efficient, but then you don't have to forget to break. If you forget to break, too bad. And here I will say also that in that case I do nothing, because basically that's what happens, and the default is this one. Do we agree on that? Yes. So let's see if my test case agree with that. Yeah, great. That's good. So that's better. Perhaps you want me to do the same here, but then I will need first to have that. And here we can see that we check for edged bri, and then we check for backstage, but therein we only check for backstage. So this doesn't apply to edged bri. Who knows what edged bri is? Nobody knows? It's a sir, but stinky sir. So French people love that. Okay, so what I will do here is that I will basically stupidly duplicate stuff. Did it change anything? No, that's good. And here I will just check for stuff that is edge bri. And if I only checked for edge bri, probably this shouldn't apply, because here I'm sure it's edged bri. Do you agree? Great. And here, it cannot be edged bri. It cannot be edged bri. And here, since I'm sure it's backstage, then I can remove this check again. Okay? Remember here, we said that the item increase quality by 1, we already do a check that it's minus 50. So here, useless. Here, same stuff. Because increase quality by 1, increase quality by 1, increase quality by 1. So we can remove redundant checks. Better?
We can collapse these two if and just remove the bottom one.
You want me to remove this if?
No.
No. Which one?
Why not? If we have get some in less than 11 and at the bottom, I see it will be two decreases. Yep.
Yes.
I see. Okay.
No, but that's interesting. You wanted me to do what, basically?
Yeah, I thought.
Like that?
Yeah, but that's.
That works still, but it doesn't change the code too much. The good thing is that still we check that there is no temporal coupling between the two, that they are independent, which is good. So you wanted me to do the case again? So let's case. Sorry. Yes, you are sorry?
I'm sorry, I've got a question. Are you going to get rid of magic constants? I mean 6, 11, 0, etc.
Yes. That's good. That's a good idea. That should probably be part of the item at the end. So for now, I will keep them, but it's a very good idea. But just for now, I will keep them because I don't know where to put them yet. If I put them somewhere, it will be in the Gilded Rose class, and I feel that there's something which is too much in this class. So let's stuff it until the end. I will switch upon the item.getName, and I will case edge-bri. And I will break. I hate switches. And yeah, they are too easy to make a mistake. I mean, forget a break and you are done. But someone you say, I won't put a break, I will be very, very smart. And then the guy who comes after you say, he forgot the break, I will put it. And it's one more bug. And if it equals sulfurous, then, sorry, I will do nothing. And by default, I will do that. So normally here, it should be, everything should be right. Now I can remove this code and let's check magically. Yes. Okay, now we see that there is a structure stuff because basically we have two switches on the item.getName, and here we have nothing, but probably if it's not sulfurous, we do something, and here we do the same. So let's try to put everything in one switch. Makes sense? Who thinks it does make sense? Nobody. You are all sleepy. No, two guys. The other are either sleepy or too hungry to follow. So here, I will copy-paste stupidly, because if it's, yes?
Martin Fowler discourages using switches. He says that this is the style of...
In the end, it won't change. But I could agree that in some instances, instead of a big bunch of if, else if, else if, else if, switches are better. Now, regarding my first stuff, is that don't use else. So, in the end, it's the same. We will remove them in the end. Okay, so now I'm on Hybris, so I'm not on ren of Regneros, and I will copy-paste that. Here I'm on backstage passes, so I will copy-paste it there, and copy-paste it there. And sulfurous basically does nothing, never. And by default, I should do that and that. And now, if my code is still working, I can remove this stuff. Do you agree? Yes. Okay, let's see if I made no mistake. Yeah, it's still green. It's good. So always when you do something, you try to compile, to check if it works. And now, it looks a lot clearer. And now we are sure this is procedural programming, basically. This is bad. Etap loja. So at this point, what we can do is try to say, okay, I will say that this can be refactored into a method which will be called update quality, because that's basically what we are doing. We are changing the quality. Again, this, since it uses only item, can probably be part of the item class. Still good. Now, let's finally introduce some object-oriented concept, like inheritance, something which is very complex, right? So I will create a new class called Hybris. If I finally get this working, where is my cursor? Thanks. And I will create an Hybris class, which will extend item. And in that case, I will say that it must have name Hybris. Still okay? And this is the update quality method of Hybris. So I will override the method update quality, and I will paste it there. Of course, at this point, there is no point in saying item because that's the best stuff. Now, my IDE tells me, okay, this is good, but basically it won't work because I didn't use it so far. So in my gilded rows, I first need to say that this is an Hybris and it doesn't require a name. And here I can remove that. Then I will fall to the default case, and thanks to my polymorphism, it will call the right method. Do you agree? Yes, my tests also agree, which is good. Now, let's continue. Easy peasy. So, no, it was not Russian. You should laugh only when I try to talk in Russian, not when I talk English, otherwise I feel foolish. Okay, I will do the same with sulfurous, basically, and it's easy because, as you can see, sulfurous does nothing. So, I will create the constructor and remove the stuff here. And the constructor should be sulfurous. Now again, I will override the method, which is update quality, and which does nothing. And when something does nothing, probably you need a comment. That might seem stupid, but afterwards, 6 months, in 6 months, you will say, why is this block empty, for God's sake? And because sulfurase never changes quality. So not only that you did nothing, so obviously you did nothing, but why you did nothing? You did nothing because sulfurase never updates quality, which at first was not visible from the code. Also, you can see that Hybris always increase quality. Because you know, Hybris, the older it gets, the smellier it gets, and French people like it. So it increases value always. Now, again, I will remove that, and I will create a new sulfurous here. So I changed nothing, right? But why do I have failing tests?
Else, somewhere.
And
Maybe default? Should we check default?
I will be in default, so I will use item.updateQuality. This is of type sulfurous, it should do nothing. Still, my tests fail. So far, it was very easy. I never had to update my tests. But now, probably, there is something wrong in here, in my own tests. And if we check where is sulfurous used, and here you see that it adds a new item, which is called sulfurous. But we change our model. So here it should read sulfurize and remove the name. And that's where it's very, very dangerous when you need to update your test suite. Now it passes again. As long as you don't need to change your test, it's great, perfect, easy peasy. Now it's time when you laugh. Now come on. Okay, now let's do the same with my last one, the backstage pass. Extends item. So you know the drill. I create the constructor. It's very easy. I take the name of the staff. I put it in here. Once you are used to it, it's very stupid, right? and I just take the behavior. I will remove item everywhere. And afterwards, probably, I don't need getters and setters anymore, which is a good thing. So in this case, that's a side effect of my refactoring. And here, oh, again! What happened? Tests. Thanks. Now you know the drill. It's too easy for you. And here, there is a backstage pass. Hey. Let's finally check our stuff. Switch item.getName. Completely useless, guys. And this is the real stuff that we want. Yeah, because we used real object-oriented programming. So, object-oriented programming is not a thing of the past. It's not all about functional programming is great and object-oriented programming is bad. Object-oriented programming really makes things clearer. You don't need to apply it everywhere because in some aspects, some things are better suited to other paradigms, like functional programming. But here you can see what does the backstage pass does. Basically, it increases quality until probably the date of the concert is passed, which is logical. I mean, it's a backstage pass. So the closer you draw to the date of the concert, the higher the value increases, then afterwards it's worth nothing. Same as for the edge bri that we saw, that it increases always. Remember, cheeses stinky are good. And sulfurous never change quality. As for all the other items, they have no specific properties. So far. And now, if you need to introduce a new type of object that has a specific behavior, it's quite easy. So, this was not about microservices or MapReduce or something complicated, but this is about real, basic, but super important stuff. This is about maintainability of code and how to refactor it. So, now it's time for some questions. You have my blog, you have my Twitter, you can become my friend on LinkedIn. And if you want to do that in your company or at home, because it's a good idea to train, this is a place where you can find the Git repository, and it's available in different languages, so you can do it in Scala and some stuff like that. Now, there are still some time left for questions.
And what about using for each for containers, for different containers, in functional style?
Yeah, sure. Now that we have finished our stuff, but basically it's trivial, we can items dot stream dot for each dot I don't remember the syntax in Java, is item dot update quality. Yeah, sure, we can do that. And IntelliJ tells me it's easier.
Is it better way?
The funny stuff about programming, it's supposed to be very serious, very mathematical, very scientific. But mostly it's about the people. So if your people are most used to one thing over the other, then it's better to use one thing over the other. It really depends. If you are the only one that prefer this kind of writing, then you'd better not use it, unless everyone agrees. Of course, at some point, it will change in time. Yeah, that's funny. Other questions?
when you're doing refactoring, the most difficult problem is to explain to your manager why you are doing this and how do you really do this.
You won't like the answer. You lie to your manager. You don't say anything. You do it. Because probably your manager has no clue what software development is. You know? He has no value. He's just there to make reporting and to approve your vacation. So you just tell him nothing. Okay. Can you cut the video at this time, please? Other questions? Yeah, I didn't make the constants because ja nie wie Francis, but that's very easy now. You can do it on yourself. Sure, don't use magic constants, right? Now you can do it. But now what you see is that those constants, sorry, it was on the backstage pass. They are limited to only one class. So if I had put them in the Gilder Rose class, it would have been useless to everything but the edge bri. Now it makes sense to put those numbers in constants. But this might be seen as over-engineering, because here you have one little snippet, and they are not reused anywhere else. So somehow we probably bitch about it, but you should be smart. I don't think this is really necessary at this point.
Can we optimize the first two ifs?
Can we optimize? How so?
They seem to do pretty much the same, but the value is different.
Yes. So what we can do is create a new method, but again, for me, it would be like, I would say, so decrease quality if cell in lower than, and this could be done like that. Would it make the code more readable or less readable? Yeah, in my opinion, it would make the code less readable. And that's a very important stuff, because we are taught very early that duplication is bad. You should always refactor everything. That's not true. Sometimes it's better to duplicate. So you have to use your brain about that.
Last time we had some kind of misunderstanding, because I tried to tell you that I want to use some kind of functional style when we have a Boolean type of our maybe compare if it less than something, yes? And then we have our Boolean, and if it's true, we increase our quality, and it's a kind of composition of two functions. And I think that it will be better than different kinds of decrease quality if...
The problem with functional programming, as I see it, is that it's very concise, but in my humble opinion, conciseness doesn't always increase readability. That's the problem I have with Scala. Scala code is very concise, but probably I wouldn't understand it in the first, in the second, in the third, and I have to really, really understand that if your lambdas is 4 lines long, it's not good. Then you will need a comment, because that is one of the advantage of object-oriented programming. That is, it has names. That's probably why you can do, I'm not sure you should, but you can do decrease quality by if selling lower than, because it really tells you what this method does. Okay, for 3 lines, it's perhaps not so useful, but still, while overusing functional programming every time decreases maintainability, in my opinion, in my experience. And I'm very, very afraid that with Java 8, like in 5 years, you know, when we had Java 5 years after, there were annotations everywhere. Everywhere. Whether it was a good idea or not, because, hey, we have a new toy, let's use annotations. Now I'm afraid that in 5 years, we will get lambdas everywhere. Sometimes it's a good idea, sometimes it's not a good idea. So again, there is nothing scientific about what I'm telling you. You just have to use your experience and your gut feeling.
Thank you.
Thank
Actually,
you. Спасибо большое.
We have no more time, but you could ask your questions at home.
Sure.
And now it's time for dinner. Thank you.
And if you're, again, if you are interested in that, just check the Git repository so you can do it for yourself. Thank you.